Hello and welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, and we start today's edition with some stories from the African continent as an African tour aimed to update African leaders on Cairo's stance with regard to negotiations of Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dams concluded during the weekend. Details follow.
Shukri delivered a message to Tunisia's President Kais Saied on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on Thursday. Shukri was received by Tunisian Foreign Minister Othman Jirandi. The visit was part of an African tour by Shukri to update African leaders on the negotiations of the GERD. Tunisia was his last station after visiting Senegal, DR Congo, Niger, Kenya, Comoros, and South Africa. For his part, Said visited Egypt on April 10 and said in a press conference that Tunisia supports Egypt's water rights. Rounds of negotiations among Cairo, Khartoum, and Addis Ababa on the GERD have reached a deadlock several times, with Cairo blaming the failure on Addis Ababa's intransigence. Cairo and Khartoum want that a legally binding agreement on the filling and operation of the dam should be reached before Addis Ababa implements the second phase of dam filling. Ethiopia, however, says it will complete the dam filling in July, with or without an agreement. Shukri on April 13 sent a letter to the UN Security Council calling on the international community to engage in advancing the stalled GERD talks and persuade Ethiopia to refrain from unilateral acts.
وصباح الخير يا سينا رسيت بمراسينا صباح الخير يا سينا رسيت بمراسينا تعالي حضننا الدافي ضمنا وبوسينا يا سينا يا سينا وصباح الخير يا سينا رسيت بمراسينا وصباح
And the developers of the Russian COVID-19 vaccine say they signed a deal with a leading Egyptian pharmaceutical company to manufacture more than 40 million doses annually in Cairo. Details follow.
The Russian Direct Investment Fund, along with Egypt's MENA Farm and its Berlin-based subsidiary, issued a joint press release saying a deal was signed to manufacture more than 40 million doses annually in Cairo. The joint statement said technology transfer will begin immediately. The rollout of the Sputnik V vaccine is expected in the third quarter of 2021, according to the statement. The production will take place in MENA Farm's biotech facility in Cairo for global distribution. CEO of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, Kirill Dmitriev, said in the release, the Russian vaccine is highly efficient and trusted by regulators around the world and makes a huge contribution in the fight against coronavirus. The Russian vaccine has demonstrated the efficacy of 97.6%, according to the statement, and been approved by drug authorities in 61 countries so far. Russia has been marketing Sputnik V abroad despite the comparatively slow rollout at home and limited production capacities.
And researchers from the University of Oxford and their partners have reported findings from a trial of a candidate malaria vaccine, which reportedly demonstrated high-level efficacy of 77% over 12 months of follow-up. Details follow.
Researchers from the University of Oxford and their partners have reported findings from a Phase 2b trial of a candidate malaria vaccine, R21/Matrix-M, which demonstrated, as they said, high-level efficacy of 77% over 12 months of follow-up. In their findings, they note that they are the first to meet the World Health Organization's malaria vaccine technology roadmap goal of a vaccine with at least 75% efficacy. 450 participants aged 5 to 17 months were recruited from the catchment area of Nanuro, covering 24 villages and an approximate population of 65,000 people. The participants were split into 3 groups, with the first 2 groups receiving the R21/Matrix-M with either a low dose or high dose, and the third, a rabies vaccine, as the control group. Doses were administered from early May 2019 to early August 2019, largely prior to the peak malaria season. The researchers report a vaccine efficacy of 77% in the higher dose adjuvant group and 71% in the lower dose adjuvant group over 12 months of follow-up, with no serious adverse events related to the vaccine noted. Following these results, the Phase 2b trial, which was funded by the EDCTP2 program supported by the European Union, was extended with a booster vaccination administered prior to the next malaria season 1 year later. The researchers, in collaboration with Serum Institute of India Private Limited and Novavax Incorporated, have now started recruitment for a Phase 3 licensure trial to assess large-scale safety and efficacy in 4,800 children aged 5 to 36 months across 4 African countries.
And Egypt marked the 39th anniversary of Sinai Liberation Day on Sunday. And in remarks marking the day, the president said that Sinai is a dear part of Egypt and a crossing point of prophets and a holy place. And to shed more light on the importance of this day, we are joined over the phone by Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Ain Shams University. Good afternoon, Dr. Youmn.
Good afternoon, and this is a day of glory for Egypt.
Yes.
This is a very important day for Egypt, and we have actually to be proud of having all Sinai returning back to Egypt. And this is actually, when we comment on such an important day, we have to mention that this, for the first time from decades, we used to mention that we are going to develop Sinai. We are going to develop Sinai without actually significant steps to be taken in order to develop Sinai as it should be. Sinai is full of resources, mineral resources, human resources, and it needs a lot of efforts to be done to develop this precious area of Egypt. And I believe lately we started to have tunnels to link Sinai with other parts of Egypt. We start to have a great project of transportation, and I believe nowadays we can talk about agricultural product to be manufactured in Sinai, organic to be exported, and having actually inviting Egyptians to go there and to participate in the development of Sinai, and including the people, native people living in Sinai, and this is addressing their problems and mainstreaming them in the efforts done in Egypt nowadays to achieve economic development and economic progress. I believe a lot has happened for the last years to take care of Sinai and to link Sinai to Egypt properly and to mainstream development into all parts of Egypt.
Dr. Youmn, how do you read the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's speech early in the day to Egyptian marking this occasion?
This is an important occasion, and it should be marked by President al-Sisi. And I believe that taking into consideration efforts that have been done by President al-Sisi and the government and the Egyptians, generally speaking, I believe that all these efforts should be marked, and we have to continue that, which means that this is a good message from President Sisi that still a lot of work should be done in order to develop Sinai and to use their resources efficiently for the benefit of Egyptians. So it's a very important message in a very special day.
So, Dr. Youmn, can you tell us more about the means of developing Sinai? How can we make use of this precious part of Egypt?
Actually, a lot nowadays we are working in that. A lot of efforts are done in order now, first of all, to have a development map, an investment map for Sinai, specifying types of resources. We have exerted efforts to know which areas can be cultivated and what crops can be cultivated to be feasible economically, and what industries we can, establish in order to benefit from such agricultural products. So these are, interlinkage projects that should be done in the areas benefiting from the resources existing there. Still, we have another very promising project, which is the Golden Triangle, linking Upper Egypt with Sinai, and I believe this is aiming to benefit from the mineral resources in Egypt in this area, and by having all these projects, I believe the main aim is to enhance the competitiveness of our production, specifically in the industrial and the agriculture sector, and to improve the competitiveness in order to increase exports. We have nowadays in Egypt the goal of increasing the size of export from approximately $30 billion nowadays to $100 billion within 3 years, and I believe this needs a lot of effort to be done. By investing on all parts of Egypt, and still Sinai is a very important part of Egypt, needs a lot of investment, and we are working on that.
Yes. Also, the president said in his speech that Egypt's battle of construction and development is no less than the previous war that took place in Sinai. So how do you see this?
Yes, this is quite important. Nowadays it's we had the battle of terrorism in Sinai. We have the battle of terrorism in Sinai. Nowadays we have the battle of development. How to make Sinai a productive part of Egypt, generating income, generating GDP, and offering. Opening opportunities for youth and for women.
Yes, we also see that the country or the government is building new universities also in Sinai.
Yes. This is, this is a holistic approach of development in which you can find institutions for education, health institutions, and side by side by productive projects.
Yes. So if we talk on the level, the president said that the liberation of Sinai brought back dignity on military and political levels. So how did the world react to news of the liberation of Sinai back then?
This is the most important point mentioned by President Sisi. We returned back our dignity with returning Sinai. This is full stop, This is quite important for all Egyptians that we have Sinai back. And from here it comes to how extent Sinai is precious for all Egyptians.
Yes. So finally, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Ain Shams University. Thank you for being with us today. And by that, dear viewers, we come to the end of today's edition of Africa Today. Thank you for watching.